Guru founder, I and O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path.
Got you waving on your video.
Yeah.
How are you?
Alright, thank you. Yeah.
How's Lisa?
She sends her love. She's very fatigued. She gets real bad bouts of fatigue. That's what's happening right now.
Ah,
She'll come back to it as soon as she can.
yeah, send her on.
Oh well.
Oh, great.
You okay? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Who are you doing this with? Yeah, this with. Who are you doing it with? Sunshine. Very good.
precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme, unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dharma flourish forevermore. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. In the space before me is the living Buddha Shakyamuni, surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like the full moon surrounded by stars. With my body, speech, and mind, humbly I prostrate, and make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time, and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases, and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain for land, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offered thus. May all beings enjoy such pure lands. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion. My friends, enemies, and strangers are bodies and enjoyments. Please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the three poisons. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless me with this understanding to follow him with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms extremely rare, with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding all day and night to seize its essence. My body like a water bubble decays and dies so very quickly. After death come results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. With this firm knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought come mindfulness and greatest caution, to keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the pratimoksha. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Oh, so that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone, without three ethics. So bless me with the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination, by pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings. Bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through common paths, bless me to enter the essence, practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle, Vajrayana. The two attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers. Oh, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the Tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy Dharma. Accomplish all grounds and pass swiftly and gain the state of Vajradhara. From the hearts of all the holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow down, granting blessings and purifying.
It's on. Is it on now? Oh my God! Okay. Okay. Marvelous. Just have to find the right page. What page was it? I forgot. I've lost my bookmark.
Start at the beginning. 201.
201. Okay. Ah. I just have to manage. Okay, so yeah, I'm starting the chapter in Training an Ultimate Bodhicitta, so it's an honour to do that. And I'll read out the final verse, the eighth verse, which says, "Furthermore, through all the above practices, together with a mind undefiled by stains of conceptions of the 8 extremes, and that sees all phenomena as illusory, may I and all living beings be released from the bondage of mistaken appearance and conception." So the first line, "Furthermore, through all the above practices," what that means is, in conjunction with the other 7 verses, the first 7 verses, and joining them with the view of ultimate bodhicitta, then together with a mind undefiled by stains of conceptions of the 8 extremes, that's referring to our practice in the meditation session, which would be nice. And then sees all phenomena as illusory refers to our practice during the meditation break, that we have to try and remember that everything is an appearance to mind. And then, may I and all living beings be released from the bondage of mistaken appearance and conception. So by practicing in this way, may we achieve the final result. I think that's what the 8th verse means. So the 4th line, I mean. So there's a difference between ultimate and conventional bodhicitta. Conventional bodhicitta is a mind that has the intention of bodhicitta. So the mind that does all its actions with a view to wanting to attain enlightenment, to liberate all living beings from suffering. That's the intention. Ultimate bodhicitta is a mind that is motivated by conventional bodhicitta, but then that realizes the ultimate view of emptiness together with a mind of conventional bodhicitta. So it's a very, very powerful mind, and the real ultimate bodhicitta is enlightenment, isn't it? That's our final result. So see what else says in the book. So yeah, so if we don't know the meaning of emptiness, it's going to be really difficult for us to get a mind of ultimate bodhicitta. So it takes, depending on your imprints, of course, but it takes a long time of studying, contemplating, and meditating over years, and studying all of Geshe-la's books, to start getting a picture, or a lack of a picture, I should say, of emptiness in our mind. First of all, we start by getting a generic image, and then this generic image fades, and we realize that emptiness is not a thing. It's a state that all appearances follow. It's like the opposite of what we're seeing. So basically what we're seeing is inherent existence. We're seeing things existing from their own side. And emptiness is the view that this is false. So inherent existence is false. It doesn't exist. So there's a difference between empty and emptiness. Yeah, an inherent existence cannot, you can't have the emptiness of inherent existence, because inherent existence itself does not exist. What we're seeing, an ordinary person like me, what I see does not actually exist in the way it appears. So you can't have an emptiness of it if it doesn't exist. However, phenomena being empty of inherent existence, that does exist. So emptiness does exist. It's a state that is the correct way that phenomena exist. They exist in emptiness. They do not exist from their own side, in and of themselves. So that's the difference between empty and emptiness. Hope I explained that okay.
You said earlier emptiness was not a thing.
Yeah.
You just said it is.
Did I?
Yeah.
It's the emptiness is the way that appearances exist. So I said inherent existence doesn't exist. Did I get it the wrong way round?
Well, you said earlier that emptiness is not a thing.
It's
But that's what you realise. You know, the superior bodhisattva realises emptiness directly. So must be realising something.
okay. So they realise that it's all coming from their mind. Yeah, it's coming the other way from the other side. We're seeing everything coming from this side, from outside, but actually, when we were in meditation, a superior being would see things being projected from their mind. So that's the other way round. However, that's not our experience, not ordinary experience, is it? So that is correct. In emptiness, that is what emptiness means. It means the experience. It means what a superior bodhisattva sees when they're in meditation. They see that they can see that things are projected coming from their mind, from their heart. So in reality, it's all being made up by us, by our own mind. That's not in the book. So emptiness is a difficult subject. And so we will need to read the following explanation carefully and think about it deeply. I think they're talking about the emptiness of the body there. Then the next section is called What is Emptiness? I'm still doing that one, aren't I? And then you do the emptiness of the body, don't you? Yeah. So I think I've started trying to explain this actually. What is emptiness? I don't think we have the words. I don't think ordinary beings have the words to explain what emptiness is. That's why J. Tsongkhapa had to turn up. From a sutra point of view, it's from a sutra point of view, we have to do a wisdom search. So normal in everyday life, if we search for something, car in a car park, we either find an empty space if our car's been stolen, or we find the car. That's a normal search and the result of a normal search. If we're doing a wisdom search, you don't stop there. You try and find out what the car actually is. What are we perceiving when we see the car? So what we have to start with what we're actually looking at. What we're actually looking at is a load of parts of metal and plastic. And these, we're looking at tires, we're looking at metal panels perhaps, looking at bumpers, windscreen wipers. Any one of those is not the car itself. So these are parts of the car. But where is the car that these are parts of? So after much searching, we look within the parts, we look outside the parts, and we look at the collection of parts, and what we're looking at with the collection of parts and the parts, we're looking at parts. We're not looking at a car, an actual distinct car. And when we look away from the parts, there is nothing. You can't look away from the parts of the car and find a car. It's the same with anything. You can't look away from the parts of something and find the thing that you're looking for. So we can see that what our mind is doing, if we contemplate this deeply and meditate on it, is that we're perceiving a car where there is no car. We're creating it with our mind. And we're actually, for all intents and purposes, this is what we're perceiving, this is what our mind is seeing, a solid car. So in that way, we can break it down. We can see that the thing that we thought was there is not actually there. So that's the beginning of our understanding on emptiness. Then there's this. There's the story of the magician and the tiger. In the olden days, they used to have magicians, and the people who were there at the beginning had a spell cast over them by the magician, and they would see something like a huge piece of wood as a tiger. But somebody who came in afterwards, who didn't have the spell cast over them, would see a piece of wood. So it's obvious that just from thinking about that, it's obvious that we can see and believe in an illusion that's something that's not there. And we've all had that experience, like with a mirage, I remember somebody had left a jacket on a post box years ago, and I thought it was a person. I think we've all had that experience. So we can easily, whatever we believe appears to us as true, and that is what we perceive. So we're doing this all the time without understanding. So over to you, Eddie. Well, I've just talked about the tiger, which is on page 205. Oh, you've got the old book.
Can we do questions?
Oh, you do questions now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was doing the emptiness of the
Right.
body. Automatically says what tigers and or
Only in that book. In this book, it doesn't. In this book, mine it says tigers. Well, you can go talk about tigers again if you want to. Maybe.
He realises the emptiness. And I didn't go through this book out from Kendall.
Do you want to go from my book? Then we're not looking at the same book. Yeah, any question?
Yeah.
We have questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
And the first section.
So Geshe-la's saying that we should see all phenomena like dreams. So if I dreamt of the elephant, when I wake up in the morning, I know that it was a dreamlike appearance because the elephant couldn't have fitted inside the bedroom. And when I go to bed later on at night and I'm going to sleep, I'm not expecting that there's going to be an elephant in the room. So if we were to take the shrine as an example now, when we're looking at the shrine, and we all decided that we were going, say at the end of class, we all leave the room, does the shrine or everything within this room actually cease to exist? Or is it still waiting here for us to experience?
So, Elaine, your question is, does the meditation room here wait for me to experience it when I wake up, or does it all disappear when I go to sleep?
When we come back in, we all walk out at the end.
Oh, if we all walk out, yeah.
Is this meditation room still here, existing, while we're out there?
Does the meditation room exist if we're outside the meditation room, out there somewhere? You mean out of the building, somewhere else? Yeah. Are we asleep or are we awake?
No, I'm like our
Gross mind. Yeah. So the meditation room exists the moment we think about it. Okay. If we're not thinking about it in that moment, it's not appearing for us and not existing for us, but it might be existing for other people who are thinking about it. So it has to be, something has to be perceived in order for it to exist. And if because it's appeared by our mind, so the mind and the object appear simultaneously. So if there's no mind perceiving a meditation room, there's no meditation room. Yeah.
So there's nothing solid and real about it?
No. There's nothing, well, our experience, ordinary experience is solid and real. But then the experience of a meditator like Milarepa, it all dissolves away. So nothing's solid and real. It's just that we are imputing solid and real on everything external. It's part of what we're imputing. Solid and inherently existent, we're believing it, yeah. But it's actually mind and object. Does anybody have anything to add? Eddie?
Does the shrine exist, Rodney? I was saying, does the shrine exist when we're in the room?
My sense awarenesses perceive the shrine, but I would be perceiving it as inherently existent and not in the way that it really exists. Yeah. So it's conventionally the shrine is appearing to me.
To your gross mind.
To my gross mind. It's mistaken. It's a mistaken appearance. Yeah.
Any other questions for Sakshay?
Yeah, I think as well, like, so the shrine doesn't actually inherently exist, does it? The Gompa doesn't inherently exist, you know. But also, like, if you go home tonight and you never come back here, then it doesn't exist for you, does it? You know, like, if you die tonight, the Gompa, as you know it, is like last night's dream, isn't it? You know, because you haven't got that karmic appearance come to your mind again. Do you know, if you have that karmic appearance come to your mind again, and then this will appear, but that's all it is an appearance. It's not like a solid real thing. Do you get what I mean? But it's just you've got that karma for that to appear again to your mind. Does that make any sense whatsoever? So there is no real gompe. There is no real gompe. And even though we're sitting in it, it's not. It's just parts, you know. That, but gompe's just an imputation by our mind, or meditation room, whatever you want to call it. So it's an imputation by your mind. And as I say, if you, like the kitchen, you know, is the kitchen still there? You know, like if we have a dream that we're here and the kitchen, we've left the kitchen and come in here, does the kitchen exist? It doesn't, does it? Well, it's the same, innit? You know, now if we never went back into the kitchen there, that imputation would never arise again. Do you get what I mean? If we did not have the karmic to go into that kitchen again, it would never arise. So it wouldn't exist for us. Do you know what I mean? And as I say, and if you died, I don't know if this is any right. Is this right? Any of this? or am I tripping? Hey? Yeah, that's right, yeah. As we're going to go, isn't it? There is no coming and no going, you know. We have that appearance. So it's just what is appearing to our mind, I would say. It's like, yeah, what's appearing to our mind. So, if we...
In the morning, the shrine will only appear if you have the karma to come here for puja. Yes, I know. So it doesn't exist for them.
Another question from Louise. I want to be happy with that now.
I think they're on the...
Online question. So we have an online question from Sue Wong. She says, or asks, nothing inherently exists. This applies to mind, comma, Buddha and emptiness. To mind, Buddha and emptiness. Is this because all phenomena are impermanent and subject to change? Shall I read that again? Okay. Nothing is... Well, I've got the grammar is struggling with the grammar. Nothing inherently exists. This applies to mind, comma, Buddha and emptiness. And nothing inherently exists. Okay. Is this because all phenomena are impermanent and subject to change? Do we understand the question? Yeah. Okay, good.
So Sue Wong has said, nothing inherently exists. That goes for Buddha, mind, and something else we can't remember. Well, emptiness. And is this because everything is impermanent? Yeah. And subject to change. Well, it's correct that everything is impermanent and subject to change, but this is not. So you know, nothing exists. Everything exists. With impermanence, everything is appearing for a moment and is gone in the second moment. It's only arising and being destroyed, and then arising. The next moment, appearances are arising. So nothing is staying. There's nothing that can stay. That's impermanence. There's a difference between impermanence and emptiness. Emptiness means that appearances are coming from the appearances that we normally see do not exist, but it doesn't mean that appearances do not exist. Appearances exist in emptiness, so they exist. Our appearances that we see exist as illusions, yeah, because they don't actually. So the illusions exist. But what's appearing does not exist in the way it appears. That was really convoluted, wasn't it? I've only confused her even more. Give it to the lady.
Okay, it's not quite correct to say that the emptiness of phenomena exists because they are impermanent, but we can, if we realize the subtle impermanence of things, then it enables us to realize emptiness. Emptiness has always existed. The main the main reason that we establish emptiness of phenomena is through dependent relationship. And Nagarjuna said that dependent relationship is the king of reasons to realize emptiness. So what it is saying is that things arise in dependence upon other things. So they cannot exist in and of themselves. And this lack of existing in and of themselves, existing from their own side, existing truly, existing independently, is kind of synonyms for emptiness. So although subtle impermanence is a way into realizing emptiness, is not really a sufficient reason. You have to be able to establish why things are independent, why things are transitory and constantly changing. You understand? Yes, no? Shall I say it again? Shall I say it again? Okay, what I'm saying is that although impermanence, particularly subtle impermanence, how things do not exist even for a moment, you know, like if you think of yourself, when you come into a room, a moment later you're not the same person. You may have the same name, but your mind and your body have changed. And this change is happening every moment, moment by moment. So that gives us insight into asking the question, well, what am I really seeing? What am I really grasping at? But I think in addition to that, you have to be able to establish that things are appearing in dependence upon other things. Things are changing in dependence upon other things. So a thing does not exist in and of itself. It only exists in dependence upon other things. So, for example, there is no teacher without a student. There are no students without teachers. There's no teaching without a student and a teacher. So all of these are, dependent arisings. So none of them exist in and of themselves, and this is the essence of emptiness. For things to exist inherently, they would have to exist independently, permanently, singularly, not being composed of parts. And you begin to realize, well, nothing could exist like that. The nature of our whole universe, nothing could exist like that. Nothing could exist independently of other things. Nothing could exist singularly without being composed of parts. Even atoms consist of parts. And subatomic particles have spin. and direction. So these we can imply or impute parts upon subatomic particles. Yeah, and they would have to be unchanging, permanent, and, as I say, not dependent upon other things for anything to exist inherently. And we realize that nothing could possibly exist like that, and if it did, we could never know it. Because things, we can know right away that the thing that appears is dependent upon our mind. If something existed in and of itself, it would be separate from our mind. It wouldn't depend upon our mind. And everything depends upon our mind. You don't want me to say it again, do you?
Are there any other questions for
I'll probably say, I know the answer to this, but I don't, because I can't remember. And it's probably a daft question, but if we realise emptiness, then we're liberated. Are we liberated if we realise emptiness? Oh, I am doing. Are we liberated if we realise emptiness? Do we need to realise emptiness to be liberated?
So the criteria of being liberated is to have a direct, valid cognizer, isn't it, of emptiness? So, and only superior beings and Buddhas have that, don't they? So you would have to have that. I think in sutra terms, if you think of Heart of Wisdom, bodhisattvas keep meditating on emptiness, and I think when they get to the 10th ground or something, can't remember, then they achieve liberation. But then Geshe-la says in his tantric books that that's not actual liberation, that's not a real superior being. So a real superior being is someone who has realized emptiness with their clear light mind, and that's a real superior being. That's real liberation. We can achieve something that looks like liberation if we achieve a Pure Land, but that's still not technically what Geshe-la explains in his tantric books. But yeah, when you've achieved real liberation, you have a direct, valid cognizer of emptiness, don't you? It depends. The strength of that depends on the mind that you've achieved that realization with. Tilipa.
Well, you can't achieve liberation without abandoning delusions. As long as you have delusions, they're functioning to cause suffering. So, once you attain a direct realization of emptiness by meditating on emptiness, then you progress to the path of seeing. There's 5 Mahayana paths. The path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning. So once you attain the path of seeing, you spontaneously abandon all intellectually formed delusions. That's delusions that you may have learnt in your life, that, for example, only human beings are important, animals don't matter. But you still have innate delusions, and you don't abandon innate delusions until, I think, the 8th ground on the path of meditation. So until until you begin to abandon the innate delusions, you're still not liberated. So you need to check on which level. I think it must be when you enter the path of meditation, you abandon the innate delusions as well. And when you're on the path of meditation, you continue to meditate on emptiness until you gradually abandon all the imprints of delusions. An imprint is like, the analogy is if you keep garlic in a ceramic pot, even once you remove all the garlic, like removing all the delusions, both intellectually formed and innate, there's still a smell of garlic in the pot. So you have to keep removing the smell of garlic in the same way you remove the imprints of delusions. And once they're removed, then you're completely free.
Can I? There you go. Do you want this? Yeah.
So I'm doing the emptiness of our body. Kester says to understand how phenomena are empty of inherent existence, we should consider our own body. He says on one level we know very well, but we need to, if we search for it, we realise there's no body. So he says there's a conventional search and then an ultimate search. So use the example of a car, like if we look for our car in a car park or whatever, or we're looking for our car, it's like, oh yeah, there it is. That's a conventional search. But if we're looking for the nature of our car, what is car? Where is car? What is car? And then is the car the bonnet, so he says, or is the car the wheels, or, we take it apart piece by piece. Is that the car, the wheels? Is that the car, the bonnet? No. Is that? Do we realise there is no car? Just parts that are not the car, basically, so there's quite a lot to this section, and I think you have done some of my section here, Anyway, so Kester says then, so to understand Shantideva's claims that in reality there is no body, we need to conduct a search for our body. So, as Kester mentioned above, objects seem to be independent of our mind and independent of other phenomena. So, like the universe appears to have discrete objects from their own side, like stars and planets and everything. That's there, just waiting to be discovered, like the Gompe. It's just waiting to be discovered, isn't it? Yeah. I'm happy about that, though. So, no, it doesn't occur to us that we're in any way involved in bringing these things into existence. Kester's saying, so we feel that our body exists from its own side, and it doesn't depend upon our mind or anyone else's to bring it into existence. Anyway, so we could do a search for our body. So basically there's a couple of stages to it. So it's either in its parts. So hang on. If it exists, for example, if we feel that our body exists from its own side, it does not depend upon our mind or anyone else's. However, if our body does exist in this way, that we instinctively grasp at it as an external object rather than just a projection of our mind. We should be able to point to our body without pointing to a phenomenon that isn't our body. We should be able to find it amongst its parts or outside of its parts, basically. There's no other alternative to that. So, Gester says, it's like we can understand then that if we point to our head or our arm or our knee or whatever, you understand that's not our body. Because otherwise we'd have loads of bodies, because we've got like, that would be my body, that would be my body, that would be my body. And also, Gester says about a part possessor, because this is my body, so I own, kind of possess this, but my body is that, possesses the, so possessed and possessed can't be the same, So the next, people often think that, well, then the collection of the parts is the body, then. Obviously the individual parts aren't the body, but then the collection of the parts is the body. But again, I guess to use the example, like a collection of things that aren't body, how can that become body? Use the example of dogs. Collection of dogs can't be human. A collection of non-bodies can't become a body. He says this is like, people find this difficult to understand, this point, but you just need to think about it, basically, with a positive and calm mind for a long time. And read Heart of Wisdom and Ocean of Nectar as well. There's another way in which we can know that the collection of the parts of our body is not our body. If we can point to the collection of the parts of our body and say that this in itself is in itself our body, then the collection of the parts of our body must exist independently of all phenomena that are not our body. I found this a bit difficult to understand personally. Those who will follow that collection of the parts of our body exist independently of the parts themselves. This is clearly absurd. If it were true, we could remove all the parts of our body and the collection would remain. So, a body can't be found within its parts, either as an individual part or as the collection. The only possibility that remains is that it exists separately from its parts. So you should be able to take all the parts away and have our body, but then obviously you can't do that. So we've searched in every possible place, so we're only left with the conclusion that it doesn't exist. The body that we normally see does not exist. The only way we can say our body does exist is if we're satisfied with just a mere name, body, and we don't expect to find a real body there. So the only thing that is there is a mere absence, a mere name, There's quite a lot to this section. I got the long section, me, I think. Hey? We have time. Thank you, Taloba. The mere absence of our body that we normally see is the way our body actually exists. We realise that our body we normally perceive and grasp at and cherish does not exist at all. Gester says the emptiness of our body is the true nature of our body. He says true nature is very meaningful. Not being satisfied with a mere appearance of the name body, we examine our body to discover its true nature. The result of this examination is the definite non-finding of our body. Where we expected to find a truly existent body, we find the utter non-existence of that truly existent body. And this non-existence, or the emptiness, is the body's true nature, is the true nature of our body. So, Chester says, since this is the case, why do we spend so much time focusing on the deceptive nature of our body? And this is the same as everything. We concentrate all the time on deceptive objects, basically, and then our mind's disturbed by that. and we remain in samsara, in this miserable life. Instead of wasting our energy focused on meaningless, deceptive objects, we should focus on the true nature of things. Although it's impossible to find our body when we search for it analytically, when we do not engage in this, our body appears very clearly. Shantideva says it's because of ignorance we see the body within our hands, within our parts. In reality, it does not exist within our parts, just as a pile of stones appears as a man. In the same way, the collection of our body, legs, arm, knee, head and all that, we see a body within that. So, Geshe says the way to familiarise our mind with the true nature of the body is to use the above reasoning, do our meditation on the emptiness of the body, basically. And once we've searched in every possible place and not found it, concentrate on the space-like emptiness, that mere appearance of the body that we normally see, the true nature of our body, Through becoming familiar with this, grasping at our body will be reduced. We'll suffer far less. Anxiety and frustration, physical tension will diminish. Our health will improve. Geshe says, for those who have got a direct realisation of emptiness, even being beaten and shot doesn't matter, because it's just like space, empty space, being beaten and shot. And then he talks about the magician's illusion that Sangshe spoke about before. He says, if we get some experience of this, if we start realising this, good and bad external conditions no longer have the power to disturb our mind, because we'll realise it's just like the magician's illusion. We're no existence separate from our mind. Instead of our mind being pulled about by changing conditions, like a puppet on a string, our mind will be remain free and tranquil. So if we realise emptiness, we experience peace and happiness day and night, life after life. So we need to distinguish the conventionally existent body that does not exist and the inherently existent body that does not exist. But we must take care not to be misled by the words into thinking that conventionally existent body is anything more than a mere appearance to mind. It's perhaps less confusing to say that for a mind that directly sees the truth or emptiness, there is no body. A body exists only for an ordinary mind to which a body appears. And Shantideva says we should, rather than examining conventional truths, we just should be satisfied with mere name, basically. And then once we've nail that, then we can apply. Once we get to see the emptiness of one thing, like our body, then it applies to everything else. It applies to all other phenomena. He uses the example of this book, Sangshe's book. We see the book here clearly, but but it's just like a page and a plastic thing and a bit of ink and just parts, isn't it? But we impute a book, basically. Gradually our experience of emptiness would become clearer and clearer until finally we gain an undefiled wisdom that directly realises the emptiness of all phenomena. And so say all of us. Yeah, okay. There's a lot to that. I skimmed that really, but there's a lot to that. Anyway, any questions? I've got a question for myself. I find meditating on the emptiness of the body very difficult. I've got more chance of getting the emptiness of Tesco's, the emptiness of my car, the emptiness of the I, myself, me. I find it hard for some reason to get the emptiness of the body. Does anyone have any suggestions that might help me? One second, Sanjay.
Please. We're all want to hear you. Thank you. So, I think, did you say that you've got a bit of a block where you're coming to meditating on the collection of the parts is not the body?
I think that, well, yeah, just the whole, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole kind of emptiness of the body, I don't know why, it's just struggling. Now, I know, like, from previous... So, yeah, I think I struggle with that, and I know from previous meditations that have gone well, you know, it's like the ascertain and the pervasion, isn't it? You need to suss out the search parameters. I don't know if I'm going to make sense here to anybody, isn't it? Just like the part before that, isn't it? If you really, really are sure about them, then that collection is easy. That second, that bit's easy, because it clearly can't be. You know, if you're like looking for the tomato sauce in the fridge and it can only be in the fridge, and you know it only can be in the fridge, and so then it's obvious that it's not there. Do you get it? I'm not making this very clear here, but it's that ascertaining the pervasion, isn't it? But for some reason on the emptiness of the body, I struggle with it for some reason. I don't know, but I can do it more like on my car or on the eye, because I get a strong sense of eye. You know, because I've always got a strong sense of eye, you know what I mean? So that's not hard to find, you know. And then you can try and look for that and realise that it's not, you know. But I don't know why. I can't struggle with the body one, to be honest.
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say something. Are you going to say something? That's Elaine wants to speak.
So I find that the most difficult part is actually trying to find the inherently existing body at the outset of the meditation. So, yeah, because if I'm sitting in about to start meditating on the emptiness of body, I'm kind of like trying to visualize the body that's sat there in meditation position. And then I can go through the stages of, like, okay, so I know it's not, my body's not my head, I know my body's not my arms, and I can imagine that all of those bits split up and disappear, and then I can perceive the absence of the unfindability of the body at one level. I can see it, but I still feel like my body's there. So it's like my body hasn't disappeared, but I can understand the unfindability of the body but I haven't actually got rid of the appearance of my body. Does that make sense? It's like I can go through the process of the meditation and get to the understanding, but I don't feel like I actually achieve it in terms of making the appearance of my body disappear.
So do you think you've still got a strong appearance then of your body?
Yeah, it's almost like there's two things. It feels as though it's like, well, it's probably the wrong use of the word dualistic, really. It feels as if, like, I'm understanding that the body does not exist because I've gone through the process of the meditation, and then I understand that it doesn't exist inherently, but in my meditation it's not disappearing. And it's like, and then I kind of like get a little bit caught up, because in some of the tantric meditations, it's like you imagine that your body becomes smaller and smaller from above and below. So then I'm trying to kind of like think, well, hang on, and my legs disappear. And it gets a bit, it just gets a bit, I don't know, I just can't get to the point where my body disappears in meditation.
Yeah, there's a, Geshe says that it can take a long, long time to identify the body that we normally see and the self that we normally see. Until that happens, it is going to be difficult because we may not be meditating on the emptiness of the body that we normally see or the self we normally see. Might be meditating on something else. So, we can spend a long, long time just trying to find that image. So it may mean if you're not able to realize the emptiness of the body, it may mean that you're not just realizing the target. If it's like you shooting an arrow at something, and if you don't have the clear image of the target, you're not necessarily going to hit it.
How do you make the image clear?
Well, yeah, one way is to imagine that how your body would appear in extreme circumstances. And also the same applies to the self. So like if you imagine you're standing in the middle of the road and you're about to be run over by a truck. You tend to have a clear image of what's going to be run over. It appears, these images appear when you have extremes of emotion. I think it's probably easier when you're meditating on the emptiness yourself. But also in the case of the body, what we do is the word impute is very important. We impute body upon the parts that we normally see. And we just need to impute, we see one part, like we see an arm or something, and then we think, oh, it's part of my body. And so we just creating the image of body out of just one part. And so like in the same way when he talks about seeing a man and dependence upon seeing a collection of stones, we impute man upon the stones. So we got to really strive to imagine how that body appears, how that imputation appears. That's all. Like I said earlier, it can take a long time to be able to see this clearly.
Sorry, I think one of the mistakes that I make is that I don't spend the time trying to identify the inherently existent body, and I'm jumping to, well, it's not its arms, it's not my head. So I'm going probably to that step before I've really got to the step before I've identified it. I think that might be where I'm going wrong.
Ascertaining vision is identifying where you're going to look for the body that you see.
Hang on, we're having a conversation off mic here.
Who's talking?
Honestly, I just said, would that be ascertaining the provision then? That's what you need to do. Is that,
But no,
is it?
well, ascertaining the provision is simply identifying where you're going to look. But for the thing that you normally see, but you have to establish the thing first of all. Unless you have a clear image of the thing, then you may be just negating something else. That is not the thing.
So I'm just thinking about, like, for some people who lose their limbs, they can often have like phantom pain and things like that. So although the limb isn't there anymore, you know, in its normal sense, to the person's mind, it's still kind of manifesting in some way. I don't know if that's relevant, but I'm just thinking about that, and then I'm thinking about, like, sometimes when we lose a person or whatever, we realise that our idea about them was wrong, and they never really existed anyway. So is it possible to realise that we're just making up meaning all the time before, like, before it's gone? So how can we, and what are the benefits of realising that we're just imputing meaning on things all the time? You can both answer it.
I'm still a bit fuzzy about the question. So was the question that we're perceiving things and creating meaning all the time, so that's been created by our own mind, and when it's gone we realise that that was just a creation of our own mind. So what is the actual question?
What are the benefits of realising emptiness? I suppose in a world where we kind of all function together based on our imputations?
That's a huge question. So what is the benefit of realising emptiness in a world where we're all functioning based on our imputations? So when I hear the word imputation, I take it you mean that you're imputing, that you have an imputed object and a basis of imputation. Is that where you're coming from? When you're saying imputation, what do you mean? What are you... Because when we're looking at the body, if I refer to the body, yeah? We're looking at the parts of the body, and then the collection of parts is just it's just a intellectual construct. It's still parts. Collection of parts and parts. It's still a bunch of parts. Yeah? A collection of parts is just... It's just us, it's a thought that we've decided to separate out another, the parts into another category. It's just parts. So the body is either imputed, it's either in its parts or not in its parts. That's the pervasion. That's ascertaining the pervasion. Yeah, this either inside its parts or outside its parts. If you see what I mean. But the parts are the basis of imputation for the body. So the body is it's basically a belief. It's a thought that we're looking at parts, but we're actually perceiving a body. Yeah, and that's the imputation. So we're looking at something. What we're looking at is something, but what we're perceiving is something else, and that is the imputed object. So our world is made up of. So this is so that the parts also are imputed, but they're, you know, it's, the parts are also, it's like layers of imputation that we're having, that we're creating. So the benefit of looking at emptiness is that if I hadn't have studied Geshe-la's books, I wouldn't be able to break it up like that and realize that we're creating these things through thought. It's a thought. Yeah, it's a thought that functions. It's a and an appearance. So our mind generates appearances with thoughts. Our conceptual mind is generating a generic image with that comes along with the thought. Not all thoughts. Like when we think of I, we're not creating a generic image. There's some things that don't have a generic image associated with them, but the body does. So we're seeing a solid body, and that what we're seeing is completely created by our own mind. And if we do wisdom searches and we read Geshe-la's books, we're starting to break down what's actually happening in our own mind, especially if we read How to Understand the Mind. It talks to you, it teaches you about the different types of mind and how they function. It teaches you about the conceptual mind and how it creates a generic image. The benefits of realizing emptiness, we would relax, I think, because there would nothing to be. Yeah, I know. Finally, finally, if we could realize it, if we could remember it, if we could meditate on it, and we actually realize that what we thought was there is not there. It's not something that disappears. It's what we believed was there. It's not actually there. It's not there. You know, there's an absence of something. So if we can get that feeling in meditation, and then we can bring that out into our day, anxiety disappears, you know, or it reduces. Things that happen in our day, because we're not so, we're much more relaxed about it, and we can see that we're understanding that the perceptions are generated by our own mind. They won't have such effect on our mind to destabilize it so much. Our wishes not being, because this is samsara, our wishes aren't granted. Well, one of the characteristics of samsara is our wishes will not be granted. Yeah, and we have to, even in little ways, what we want doesn't happen, and it's all day, every day. That won't have the power to make our mind unstable or discouraged, or because we'll realize that it's not actually really happening. It'll in the back of our mind will reduce what's called the grasping. Will reduce believing. We won't believe. If you stop believing in something, it doesn't have the power to hurt you. So.
Yeah, I think the benefits of just getting a bit of an understanding of emptiness is it's the ultimate painkiller, isn't it? Because that angry, that person we see as an enemy doesn't exist. That desirable person doesn't exist. That desirable thing, this thing, that thing to get jealous about. We start to understand that it's an imputation from our mind, you know, and it's not real, it doesn't exist out there, you know. I think it's the ultimate Prozac kind of thing, you know. And yeah, Geshe-la says there, doesn't he? He says we'll be, even our physical, if we did get a good understanding of it, you know, even our physical pains, you know, wouldn't affect us. You know, so that, yeah, I think the benefits are we'd be happy, we could live lightly, understanding that it's just a play of karma, it's a play of our mind, really.
Yeah, so it's like waking up from a bad dream, I imagine. What Liz was saying about phantom pains. I remember one time I saw somebody who didn't have any legs, and I was talking to them, and I remember thinking that this person doesn't have any legs, but it's still a person. And then I mentally, afterwards, sort of took away other parts of his body. I was able to do it more easily with somebody else in front of me than I am able to do it with myself. But I thought, well, where does that end? You know, I kept taking parts of him away. So he didn't have any legs, so then I took an arm away, and I thought, it's still him, he's still there. So at what point does he not exist? You know. In fact, it's quite an extreme degree. Somebody can have a lot of missing body parts, but still be there. So that kind of helps me a little bit to think like that. Yeah, and then I think it's like, if all this doesn't exist, is it like, is it like a soup of consciousness without any kind of, you know, bodies or barriers, or I don't know. A lot to think about, but that's.
We have another question coming on a similar theme. Online. Okay, so
Yeah, on this soup of consciousness, we still would have discrimination. Our mind always has discrimination, so it distinguishes between objects and things, yeah. But also, one of the main benefits I find of striving to realize emptiness is to realize that ultimately there is no difference between anyone. Ultimately, there's just emptiness appearing as form. And so there's no basis of thinking one person is preferable to another, one type of person is preferable to any other, because ultimately they're all the same, just emptiness appearing as form or appearing as a person.
Thank you. So, Linda Bruford is asking online, if we reach the stage where we can disappear ourselves, and the truck, Interloper's example, nothing would hurt because we have realized emptiness. Is this liberation, and would we be in the Pure Land?
Well, Interloper answered that before, didn't he? Because we could realise emptiness, but we're not. So no, it's not liberation. And no, we wouldn't be in a Pure Land because we're not enlightened, I would say. But it'd be rather nice, because we wouldn't suffer, would we? We wouldn't suffer, but yeah, I don't think we would be. It's not liberation, is it? That's right, isn't it?
Well, Pure Land is what used to a pure mind. Whoever.
But we wouldn't have a pure, fully pure. We wouldn't be in like a Buddhist Pure Land.
It wouldn't be. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we wouldn't be fully enlightened, but I think we could still in Pure Land if we were free from the causes of delusions. I mean, Pure Land is just what appears to a pure mind, and so I think there's probably degrees of Pure Lands. Kyajra, for example, you only attain by realizing your very subtle mind, realizing emptiness with a very subtle mind. But you know, in Sutra it talks about pure lands, and you know, I think we can appear those. I think we can appear a pure land by freeing ourselves from the causes of suffering. If there are no causes of suffering, then there is no suffering. And essentially the definition of a pure land is where not even the word suffering appears.
So, I'm not sure whether or not the question's relevant or not, but if we're doing our, say for example, our Vajrayogini practice, and so we say it's bringing the future result into the present, don't we? So if you've managed to do a really good self-generation and you've generated Kyajra Pure Land, then at that moment, oh no, it's done with our conceptual mind, though, with conceptual thought for us, isn't it? I think I've just answered my own question. So if I was if I'd managed to get rid of my body, like found the object of emptiness, like the truth body, and then from emptiness, from the mind of bliss and emptiness, my mind appears myself as Vajrayogini, and I impute myself on Vajrayogini's body and mind, then at that point I could say that I'm in a pure land, couldn't I?
Yeah. Geshe does say, although it's not an actual pure land, it's a similitude of a pure land. So similitude is essentially that. Yeah. And the more we practice like that, eventually, you know, it sticks. I mean, we just stop viewing ourselves other than Vajrayogini or Heruka, like a method actor. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can't go home early yet. Yeah. Okay. So this is a question really about collective karma, I feel, but I find it hard to get my head around the fact that so we've got all these people existing in the world, and then say they're watching a big football game on the telly, and it's beamed out to millions and millions of people, and they're all watching the same game. So how do you explain that as regards to all the different experiences of emptiness of those millions of people? Does that make sense? So it does make sense, good.
It makes sense to a mind that's not realized emptiness. But I would ask the question, what game? What game? Where is the game?
In my mind.
Or in each person who's watching it, mind. And they're all different. There's millions of games. It's just, we just impute game upon the appearance of a referee and 22 players, and 2 linesmen, and several ball boys, and a ball, and so on. And everybody's imputing something different.
Does that answer your question?
Well, still, I'm confused, not because of the answer, because of thoughts, really. Yeah, so I am still confused, or not fully appreciating what's going on when you think, okay, so everyone's seeing something that they would describe as a football game, but they all see something different. How? But I find it difficult to get my head around how can so many people have what we call collective karma all at the same time? How can we all have that very similar karma to be able to see this football game and for it to appear? Okay, it appears differently for every single one who's perceiving it, but how on earth? I mean, I suppose Buddha said don't investigate karma because you go mad, but it's driving me mad trying to imagine it.
Probably the answer is because probably because they've grown up in a world where football appears, and they've been to a football match before, and so they accumulate the karma to be able to see this particular match. I mean, if they've, I mean, even if, if they grew up in a world where there was no football, they wouldn't have the karma for football to appear. All that each person is doing is appearing a game as a result of their karma. They're appearing a game.
Yes, better.
I don't even really. It's not what. Think of me. What's that? So things not inherently exists. You know, including others, including myself, including others. How do others exist? How do others exist as appearances? So, you know, are you a mind stream on your own, a consciousness on your own? I'm a consciousness. Do you know, or are others just appearing in my mind, like others in a dream? So there is no one else. Do you know what I mean? Am I the only one? Or, so how do others exist?
Well, they exist to the minds of living beings. Exist to the minds of other living beings, and they exist to the minds of enlightened beings.
It's hard to get your head around this then. Like, do you exist separate from me?
You can see them speaking to them.
He's so he's asking, do I exist separately from him? From my point of view, I do.
So obviously, my version of you is my version of you.
Yeah, it's different from mine. Yeah.
You've got a version, you've got a version of you. Yeah, so that and me and they cancel over. It's just, yeah, I can understand that. But are you? Is there another you? Is there another consciousness out there you know. Yeah, because it is the more than one consciousness, and I think the only consciousness in this whole thing.
So Eddie's asking, is he alone in the world? That's a particular philosophical position. It's called solipsism, but it's not Buddhism. For Buddhism, you know, we all have mothers. We've had countless mothers since beginningless time, and they have existed.
So do they exist from their own sides? Obviously not, because of their own emptiness. Or do you know, do all the living beings exist from their own?
Well, did they exist before you?
Did they exist before me?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've all existed at the same time, haven't we? We've always existed, as far as Buddha says.
Well, it's not this, but it's not the same persons.
Yeah, but they're stream of consciousness.
What's
Your stream of consciousness is different from my stream of consciousness.
yeah, but what stream and what consciousness?
Yeah, I just can't be a
Are we not just all like, are we not just all appearances arising from emptiness?
Yes, yes.
So you and me are in a room, and you're an appearance to my mind, and I'm an appearance to your mind. So how can an appearance to mind have an appearance to mind? It's like there needs to be a third person. Or, you know, does that make sense?
Why does it have to be a third person?
Well, because if you're an appearance to my mind, and I'm an appearance to your mind.
the online people we're having here.
No, they don't need to hear this.
I think it's time to finish. We can continue this in the future.
Through the virtues I have collected, by practicing the stages of the path, may all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods, and quickly attain enlightenment, so that samsara is finally extinguished. So that the tradition of Tsongkhapa, the king of the Dhamma, may flourish. May all obstacles be pacified, and may all favorable conditions abound. Through the two collections of myself and others, gathered throughout the three times. Badradaram, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of Mars. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainments. Sankapa, brown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows. You are Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of Mars. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme
Sorry? Yeah, okay. Just to clear up one thing, although we say things don't exist, it doesn't mean to say they don't exist in any way, shape or form. They exist as appearances, and these appearances exist. When we say phenomena don't exist, it just, or in the text, the Buddha says phenomena don't exist, it just means they don't exist inherently. But they still exist as appearances, as essentially as conventional truths. But conventional truths function. Anything that functions exists conventionally.
Can you just give a plug for this weekend's course?
Oh,
the empowerment.
Sudhana is asking me to plug the day course, the half-day course on Saturday, which is an introduction to Tantra, where we'll hear about emptiness in action. And the following week is the empowerment of Medicine Buddha. We're making a connection with Medicine Buddha. Empowers our healing practices that we can use both for ourselves and for other people. And in particular, it's about healing the sicknesses of the mind. Okay, so, well, be there or be square. Thank you.